Cinemajaw is brought to you by Field Notes Brand. Field Notes Brand, USA-made memo books and other products, including seasonal limited editions. Visit fieldnotesbrand.com or 400 North May, and we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded at the Chicago Podcast Co-op Studio. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Rye the Movie Guy. And sitting alongside us, filling in this week, is our editor, Phil.
How's it going, Jawheads?
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, I kneel down and I allow you to knight me as we cover our top five favorite...
do more than knight you, pal.
Our top five favorite movie nights.
Sorry, you set it up so nice. It's
I
like
guess so.
playing T-ball.
You always go right there, don't you?
Probably.
We are doing movie nights, though, because of King Arthur.
This is a weak topic. Let's be honest.
I didn't realize how weak of a topic it was.
It's fine.
Until I dove in and started getting my movie nights. But I tried to be creative. I got some good movie nights, I think.
Well, I applaud you, sir, because I did not try to be creative.
This week, also on Cinemajaw, Matt, we have a great guest who's going to be joining us, too. For a long time, people thought that maybe we were just banning him from the show because we've been doing Cinemajaw for over 7 years, and we have not had Erik Childress on.
I know. It's about damn time. I'm very excited to talk to him.
We're putting to bed the rumors because Erik on Twitter calls himself Erik the Movie Guy.
No.
A lot of rumors out there.
He's not the movie guy.
Oh, it's Erik Movie Guy.
No.
Damn it. What do I keep screwing up his name for?
It's the movie man.
Oh,
Ryan.
the movie man.
Yes, you're just the guy.
Okay, well, that's why I think a lot of people were thinking, are we banning him because I'm Rye the Movie Guy and he's Erik the movie man? No, that's not it. We have Erik Childress on the show this week.
I'm excited.
So am I. Besides that, we have a whole lot more going on, don't we, Phil?
Yeah, we absolutely do. We are also going eye for an eye on King Arthur.
And we have a review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Nice. I know we got out there, me and Matt. Also, Erik saw it, so we got a good review there. Plus, as Phil mentioned, we're going eye for an eye on King Arthur. So I thought, what better time than Matt versus Erik in King movie trivia. Think of movies with King in the title.
Okay.
Get thinking on that.
I like it. It's like Jeopardy.
Plus, I saw there's this new movie coming out.
Oh, yeah?
Great comedy, I think.
Oh.
Called Snatched.
Oh.
And it has this Amy Schumer in there. What a talent.
What? Who?
Amy Schumer.
Who's that?
Who's that? Come on, Trainwrecked. She's a comedian. She's awesome.
If you say so, man. I think she's just a flash in the pan.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, she's going to be gone in
no way.
30 seconds.
I guarantee you 10 years from now, we'll still be talking about Amy Schumer.
10 years?
For sure.
Dude, we won't be talking about her next year.
CinemaWAR. Ooh, Eric's going to have his hands full right there. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's jam-packed. Right, if we just stopped right there, Matt, it's jam-packed. But
jam-packed jaw.
We do not stop there because we do promise the Jawheads two things at the top of every month. A new riddle and a new movie of the month pick.
This is exciting.
It is. We'll start with the movie of the month pick. Last month, what was our pick, Matt?
Colonia.
Yeah.
With Emma Watson and Daniel Bruhl.
So we decided to, again, try to tie it in with an actor or actress that has a new movie coming out this May. And we decided to focus on Michael Fassbender, who is going to be in the new Alien movie. And we looked back and we saw there was a movie that me and Matt both had missed on our radars, but that we really wanted to catch. Believe it or not, in 2009, I believe it won the jury prize at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes.
In 2010, it won the BAFTA for Best British Film.
And nobody in America's ever heard of it.
No, I believe our guest has seen it, as I was talking to him before we started recording.
Nobody outside film criticism has ever heard of it.
So I'm very excited to announce our May pick of the month. It is, in fact, Fish Tank with Michael Fassbender.
Yes.
The great thing is, me and Matt looked, we researched, it is streaming now on Hulu. If you do not have Hulu, you can buy it at various sites, rent it for $1.99. And don't forget about your local library. You can always get discs there as well.
Well done. Yes, well said. You can. Go to the library, get it for free.
Fish Tank. We'll be throwing that out onto social media to remind you. You got about 3 weeks to watch it and discuss it with us. Shoot us an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com.
And we're going to try to get even more interactive this time around.
Okay.
So we want to hear from the Jawheads what you guys think of this film.
Absolutely. That brings us to the riddle. Before we bring in Erik, as we promised, each month at the top of the month, a new riddle. Let's start with picking a winner of the April riddle. What was it again, Matt?
The April riddle was this. I have starred in a famous zombie movie, but not its sequel. I have starred in one film directed by Wes Craven, and it was not the zombie film mentioned. I have been a villain in the Batman movies, and I have starred in 2 films with red in the title, one of which had Robert De Niro in it. Who am I?
Now,
you want to see if Eric knows?
I don't know. He's thinking over there. We're putting him on the spot. Does he know? He's thinking. See?
Okay, all right.
It was a little more challenging.
I think so.
And I promised that we would get a little bit more challenging as the year went on. Judging from the number of entries that came in correct, slightly less than the first 3 months. So I think I did good. Some people commented it was
This
a
one
little
I
bit more
knew, but it was
difficult.
the zombie thing.
Yeah. Now, we did hear from plenty of jawheads out there, one of them being Jay Silva from Chicago, actually. His answer was correct when he said it is the great Cillian Murphy is the answer to April's riddle. He starred in 28 Days Later, but not the sequel 28 weeks later. The Wes Craven film he starred in was Red Eye, which of course was red in the title. The other film that has red in the title that features Robert De Niro is Red Lights. Then, of course, he played the Scarecrow in Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Just discovered you guys, and I love the podcast. Keep up the great work.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Jay. So we threw Jay's name in. Like I say, slightly lesser of a pool to pick from here, but still, plenty of people got it right. And the winner this April is Brent Gill from Prairie Village, Kansas. Congratulations, Brent. Shoot us your address, feedback@cinemajaw.com, and we will send out a Cinemajaw prize pack.
Well done, Brent.
Yes.
Well done.
All right. If you want to win a prize, this is your time. Here is our new riddle. And I wrote this one. I think it is, again, slightly harder than even April's.
This was hard.
The May riddle. Matt, hit it, please.
Okay. I have been in a Marvel movie. I have played a vampire. In one calendar year, I appeared in 2 films that starred Brad Pitt. The year prior to that, I won an Oscar in a film that starred George Clooney. And at one time, John C. Reilly played my husband. Who am I?
If you think you know the answer to May's riddle, write us. Feedback@cinemajaw.com. If you get it correct, we will throw your name into a hat. You can win a prize pack. And please remember to tell us where you're writing from. We always like to know where our jawheads are at.
For sure. That's a tough one. Good job.
All
Good
right.
job.
There you go. So it is out there. The riddle is live, Matt.
I like it.
So finally, without further ado, as we mentioned, jokes going, doing this 7 years. I have seen Erik at many screenings. You may read his stuff on eFilm Critic. You may hear his stuff on WGN Radio. You may see his stuff on television on WYCC. Erik Childress, welcome to Cinemajaw.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, as I mentioned, sort of jokingly, that we thought you were banning the show or we were banning you. But you have been into film criticism for quite a long time. When did you get involved in it?
I kind of backed into it or forwarded into it back in 1998. There was a radio show in town, Jonathan Brandmeier show.
Sure.
And they were looking for someone to do movie reviews on their show. They did at the time Buzz Kilman, who was his regular co-host and usually did the movie reviews, wasn't on the show. So they were looking for someone to do movie reviews, and they were literally just using a guy down the hall in some office who wasn't very good at doing it. He was just seeing movies on his own time. Now, I wasn't doing it professionally at the time, but I was going to see all the movies. So I faxed them. Yes, I faxed them a letter suggesting, yeah, I'm seeing the movies anyway, so if you need someone to talk about them, I'd be happy to do that. And they called me up, and for almost 4 years, I was doing stuff on Brandmeier's show.
And did you have any radio background at that time?
No. I was in going to school, kind of a second term at Columbia College at the time, and so
you were studying film?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Columbia College. I studied film, directing, editing, screenwriting, all that kind of stuff. I never had. I took a criticism course, but it didn't really help me at all. It just wasn't a very good course, and I just kind of backed into it. And then next thing I know, someone from Brandmeier's show recommended this guy on WGN Radio named Nick Digilio. And he said, you should maybe listen to him because he talks all about movies all the time. Brandmeier only did it, once a week. So I started listening to Nick's show, and then I started calling into Nick's show, and then I just became a regular not co-host, but a regular guest on the show, and now we do it every weekend.
That's awesome, man. I love Nick Digilio, too. He's fun.
Yeah, and upcoming Hall of Fame member of WGN. He's being inducted into the WGN Hall of Fame this month.
Wow.
In fact.
Congrats
That's pretty
to Nick
awesome.
D,
Yeah.
I think radio is such an interesting medium too, especially to get movie reviews out there.
Yeah.
We've only been on the radio. We actually were guests one time on the radio, and I thought, who's listening to this? And as soon as I got off the radio, my brother's neighbor texted me, and he was like, "Great job on the radio." I'm like, "What? Somebody is listening out there." Do you get that a lot, where you're shocked how many people are listening to WGN Radio?
I do actually. That's something that my friends used to tell me, and when I used to kind of like, I try to be humble about it, just like, "Oh, you're on the radio." I'm like, "Yeah, you just call in and talk for a couple minutes." Like, no, you don't understand how many people are listening to you when you're doing that. I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then, I hear my mom, has friends at church, and they're like, "Yeah, I heard your son on the radio last night." I'm like, "What are they doing up that late?" It's weird. Like, "No, we listen to the podcast." I'm like, "You know what a podcast is?" So it's fun in that way. And yeah, it's great to hear. It's great to know that someone is listening. I'm sure you guys have the same thing here doing the podcast. You're just happy somebody is paying attention to what you have to say. And the great thing about doing a radio or a podcast is that you can expand on things. It's, I think, did you guys grow up watching Siskel and Ebert at some?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So, even then, you had these two guys that would talk, but it would only be 2.5 to 4.5 minutes, depending on how long they would give each movie. So it's great to have a forum where you could talk at length about topics, and we're going to talk about Guardians later, so we can expand upon things, and it's just a great way to interact and introduce new ideas that you might not have even thought of, whether it be writing a review or talking amongst your friends about.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting, too, about having a guest here on Cinemajaw each week is we get the guest's perspective on whatever topic we're covering. I think that's what makes our show so interesting.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. It's all about having a guest. And you mentioned podcasting. You also do a podcast, right?
I do. I got kind of talked into doing a podcast last year by a friend and colleague of mine named Jim Laskowski, who started the NowPlayNetwork.net, and he's just like, "You should absolutely have a podcast and thing." And I hemmed and hawed and kind of like time, and then I just started doing it, and I do it all myself. It's kind of insane. You guys have a production going on here that is beyond anything. I have one microphone and Audacity and a Skype, and that's my podcast.
That's really all you need.
It probably, I'm not demeaning anything you got here, because this is awesome. This is what you guys got going here. I've seen the other studio you got going on. I'm totally impressed. I've done 46 episodes of the podcast so far, and it's we talk about DVDs, we talk about box office, we talk about a variety of topics. I just basically have friends on as guest movie colleagues and things like that. But yeah, I hope people are listening. I see people are listening.
What's the title of the podcast?
It's called Movie Madness.
All right.
Yeah. Because it's literally just all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move over to WYCC. This is a television network here in Chicago.
Yeah.
You are on a show called First Business, Movies and Money.
Yeah. Well, it was the original show that I was on was called First Business,
Okay.
and that was on WICU television. And the host of that show, Angie Miles, when that show ended at WICU, she moved over to WYCC and started her own show, which is basically a variation on
the original
First Business. Now it's called Business First. Okay,
How original.
Exactly. She took the Movies and Money segment, which she really liked doing. She got a lot of really great feedback in, and asked me to be a part of the show again. So every Thursday morning at 5 a.m., you can see me on the show, and we do a segment about the movies that are opening each week and their box office potential. It's a business show, so we're literally in Chicago Board of Exchange with all the traders and stuff behind us talking about box office.
Yeah. Do you like that television?
Well, yeah, I'm used to it now. So it's again, you're just hope that someone's watching and paying attention, and that was one of those things, because like you only get so many minutes to talk about a specific topic. That's one of the things that I like doing on the podcast. Is the only thing I like more than words are numbers. So I happen to really like the business side of movies, and I know has no bearing on quality and things like that. And they're too.
It's just interesting to you.
Yeah, there's movie criticism, which is what I champion. Then there's box office numbers and awards, and that stuff is like a game. It's just a big fancy game, and so you can get people fired, but it's a big fancy game for the movie industry. And I'm just fascinated by trends and all those kinds of things, and that's the kind of things we talk about.
Sure.
It's like almost like fantasy football, but
Yeah.
for movies.
I know when we were growing up, and I'm lumping Eric into our same age group here. Remember when Titanic was #1 for 13, I believe, was
you
the
got to
weeks?
let this go already.
No, let me get to my point.
All right.
Okay.
But remember, you would have movies that would be #1 for 5, 6, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
A
another-
Return of the Jedi, 12. These.
Yeah, it was way back in the day.
Now, literally, if something goes 3 weeks, it's news. If it's 3 weeks in a row, that's
4
news.
weeks is kind of a big. I mean, 4 weeks is rare. 3 weeks is depending on when it opens. Like Fate of the Furious did 3 weeks in a row just because there's nothing else opening.
Boss Baby did at least 2. Did it
Boss
get
Baby
to 3?
did it do 3?
I think it might have.
When did it open? Last week of March. So I think
Yeah.
it did 2 weeks, and then Fate Furious beat it. But that held its ground, and it beat Beauty and the Beast. That was the big surprise with that particular one. But in Titanic, which was crazy, and I remember the film that beat it eventually. Do you remember the movie that beat it? Finally,
I don't.
it was in April, first week of April.
The movie came out in December, and now we're talking
Yeah.
April when something finally
Right.
beat it. Jeez, I don't remember. No.
I think it was April. Lost in Space.
Wow, that piece of
Yeah.
crap.
Wow.
But you have to understand, Titanic was 12 weeks or whatever, 15 weeks or whatever it was out before something finally took it down to the box office. And it's not like it opened with like $300 million,
Right.
and then it opened like $28 million, and it just held steady and steady and steady, and word of mouth, and then third week was bigger than the second week, and all those kind of things.
was crazy.
And, yeah.
Yeah,
That was a very interesting thing.
it sure was.
One question. This sort of flew by pretty quick, but you mentioned you do the TV segments in the Chicago Board of Trade.
Mm-hmm.
So is that for listeners who might be familiar with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, pretty much the same spot where the three were hanging out?
Pretty much. I mean, I think they were hanging out in almost like the sports deck or whatever, like the owner's box. I think they were somewhere
Right.
away from it. So we're not there, but we're literally on the floor of the Board of Exchange.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat. So now we move over to where people can read your reviews. The website, I believe, is eFilmCritic.
Yes.
And did you start that website?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. That was one of the things around that time of the doing the Brandmeier show that when I started to writing stuff. When I was writing stuff then, I would just post to message boards and anyone that would, anywhere I could put something online.
Sure.
And Nick actually introduced me to eFilmCritic, and so I went there and submitted some stuff, and they said, "Oh yeah, come aboard." And then, so I wrote there for several years. I don't write as much there as I used to. I have a lot of stuff now that I do on the radio, television, and now the podcast. So I write for other things like McGill's Cinema Annual,
Sure.
which I do that, and some other things that I get tasked to do for other sites. But I don't write as many reviews as I would like to for efilmcritic.com at the moment. But there's over 1,100 reviews archived there. So you can go
Definitely.
back and read my 2011 and a little bit then some.
Yes. Now that probably led you to becoming a member in the Chicago Film Critics Association. And one of the very interesting things that the Chicago Film Critics Association does, sort of separates it from other critics groups in the country, is that it has its own film festival.
Yeah.
Is
yes.
this now the fourth
Fifth year.
Fifth.
Fourth year at the Music Box, but fifth year overall.
Yeah, and it just seems
It's a
to
milestone.
keep growing and growing. And I know we've had a few people through the years on, such as Brian Tallarico, talk about the festival. And the uniqueness of it is this idea that the critics go out to these film festivals, be it Toronto or Sundance or Tribeca. They see movies that aren't necessarily readily available to us here in Chicago. And they do this. It's a blessing, Matt, for movie fans of
sure.
Chicago and really the Midwest. They literally bring all these movies together in one location.
Right.
The Music Box Theater on top of it. And it plays this year, Jawheads, May 12th through the 18th at the Music Box Film Festival. How excited are you for this year's lineup?
You mentioned you said the word milestone, and when we were putting this thing together, and it was just a grain of an idea in my head, literally at a film festival where I thought of this idea. To see that we've managed to last 5 years and to keep it going. I mean, we're a not-for-profit organization. What we do and what we make off these festivals pretty much goes into the next year's festival. Like, we're not, taking salaries. This is all for the love of the game, pretty much. And it's very humbling to me when I hear things like that, what you're saying, that, I'm glad that you use the word blessing, because I don't like to toot my own horn too
Pat
much.
yourself on the back.
Right, exactly. I let other people do it. It makes me feel nice. But it's wonderful when you see the crowds come up and they see stuff and they come up and they tell you, like, we would never have seen this movie if you hadn't brought it to Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's the case in a number of films, that sometimes they might end up going VOD and they don't end up getting a theatrical release. And I think that's something you're going to start seeing more and more of, because streaming is becoming more popular. And it's not that I'm against it, but these kind of grassroots festivals and filmmakers who's when they decide to make a movie, their dream is to have it played in a theater. Not so much played on VOD. Yeah, they want people to see it, but they like it shown in the theater, even if it's for one night, just to have it shown in the theater. And that's one of the things that I hope that our festival is really going to be a part of in the coming years. After now that we've hit this mark, and we've had so much support from studios and filmmakers and publicists since the very beginning when we put this whole thing together. So I'm hoping that from here on out we'll be able to offer that for filmmakers, that they'll get this chance to have a premiere in a venue like the Music Box, which you can't do any better here in Chicago. You really can't. So that that's one of the things I'm hoping going forward with it.
Sure. And I agree with all these people coming together, and the Music Box can hold a lot of people. So seeing like a great movie with a packed audience at the Music Box is just something special. You don't get that at video on demand, sitting on your couch. You miss that experience. Looking at the festival lineup, for me, it starts, I should say, and ends with one movie, because we just did our summer movie preview. And this was on my top 5 list, and it is actually
Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
You guys are playing that?
wish,
That's
no.
awesome.
We should. Taika Waititi, his Hunt for the Wilder People was our Audience Award winner last year. So
I saw it there. I did see that film there last year. No, but this was on my top 5, and it is premiering in Chicago at the Chicago Film Critics Festival. It is A Ghost Story with Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. Have you seen this film already?
Oh yeah, this is a film.
And I should mention this plays May 18th, closing night of the festival.
Yeah, get your tickets now, because people are very interested in this movie. Yeah, this is the film that blew us away at Sundance this year. This is the one film that we knew we had to have, that we wanted. A24 bought the movie before it got into Sundance, and A24 is the one studio that has given us a movie every single year. They were literally starting out just as we were starting out. So we have this symbiotic relationship where
they're really doing well.
Well, they just won an Oscar for Best Picture, for God's sakes, in 5 years.
Yeah.
I love everything they've put out so far.
Yeah, and they've given us, since the beginning, they've given us like multiple films every year, and A Ghost Story was the film that we pursued. It was the kind of, if we didn't get it, we almost would have shut down the festival. That's how much we wanted this film. And just to close the festival with this movie that is going to, I can't lie that it probably will divide some people, because it's that kind of movie. It's a movie that you're either going to respond to, or it's just not going to connect to you. It's a very introspective film. It's a movie that is going to give you more to think about after the movie's over than while you're watching it. But you probably give a lot to think about while you're watching it too. And it's just, David Lowery is becoming something. I mean, Pete's Dragon was on my top 10 list last year. I think that is as extraordinary a family film as I've seen in some time. Anthem Body Saints is a terrific work. So I'm just really excited for this guy's, to see what this guy does next. And like I said, A Ghost Story, you guys are not going to want to miss it.
Can't wait. Can't
Nice.
wait. I am really excited about that. Other highlights that people can look forward to at the festival.
Well, one of my favorite films from South by Southwest that we got this year that we're also very happy about is a movie called Lucky. Which is playing Saturday night. It stars Harry Dean Stanton, 90-year-old.
Oh, yes.
90-year-old Harry Dean Stanton as a 90 playing a 90-year-old atheist who, he's an old man, goes through his yoga routine, and he goes to his favorite breakfast place, his favorite bar. It's just a routine that he has every day, and he's living, just going by life, lives alone, doing just fine, watches his game shows. One day he has an episode in his house, and he just kind of collapses, and he goes to the doctor, and you're expecting, what's wrong? And the doctor just says, you're old. There's no grand, it's not some grand, Nicholas Sparks thing where he's got some disease and he's got to overcome it. No, he's 90. So he starts to realize that, logic dictates, numbers dictate that I probably don't have much longer. So it becomes a series of conversations with people at all these various places, and a fantastic cast. David Lynch plays one of his friends at the bar,
wow.
who has a monologue about his pet turtle. That is almost worth the price of admission by itself.
I'm there.
Ron Livingston has a great role in the film. It's directed by John Carroll Lynch, the actor who from Fargo and Zodiac. We've seen him in a million things. He's going to be there Saturday night with the film. One of my favorite films not just South by Southwest, but of the year so far.
Awesome. And that's another great thing about the festival is that the directors, the filmmakers, some of the actors sometimes come out to the festival.
Yeah.
They address the audience, and for people who have not been to the Music Box, there's this wonderful little lounge area now at the Music Box.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've been there where the filmmakers then go have a drink and continue the conversation with us moviegoers. And as a movie fan, there's really nothing much more exciting than that. I love it.
We've been very fortunate with the guests that we've had especially particularly at the Music Box over the last few years, whether it be an actor from the film or a filmmaker will interact with we haven't had a case yet, knock on wood, where someone goes like, I just want to leave and be by myself. I just want to siphon me off from the crowd. We haven't had that. We've had Bobcat Goldthwait's been at the festival twice, which he said it's his favorite festival he's ever been to, which is, again, just warms my heart.
Wow, that's awesome.
One of the nicest, sweetest guys you ever want to meet. The first time he was there at our festival, he stood outside in the lobby. There was just a line. People just wanted to meet him. He waited and met every single person who was at his screening.
He's a bit of an underrated filmmaker, though.
Absolutely.
I think
Sure
he's
is.
great.
Absolutely.
And this is the festival, Matt, where I humped Sarah Polly's leg.
What?
I'm kidding.
Were you there at the movie
I
first year?
I believe that, actually.
That's why Roadside does. No, never mind.
Yeah, I got him kicked out of that theater. No,
Sarah Polly, our very
was
first
at your-
guest.
yeah.
She was our very first guest when we just we put together the festival in like 3 months at the Movie Co. And Sarah Polly came in with her documentary that she had, Stories We Tell, and the movie was open in like 3 or 4 weeks after that. But she came in. And she was just awesome. Sarah Polly was amazing and agreed to do it. We had no credibility as a festival. Who knows what we were going to put together? But, we had Sarah Polly. We had William Friedkin there for closing night. We had James Ponsoldt just as he was,
just on his rise,
pretty much. So it's just we've been really fortunate to have these kind of guests that they're just there, and they're there to interact. They're there for their movies. They're there for the people that want to see their movies, and it's been wonderful so far.
It's awesome. Now, for the jawheads listening to this that are in Chicago, the Midwest area perhaps, that want to check out the festival, best place to do so online for schedule and tickets and all that good stuff.
Yeah, two really good places. One, you can go right to the ChicagoCriticsFilmFestival.com website, which has the schedule right on the front and very easy access to buy tickets and passes. Or you can go to the Music Box Theater, musicboxtheater.com, and again, the schedule's there. Individual tickets are available, and you can get an entire pass for the festival. You can see every single movie on the festival. And one thing about the festival that when we designed the thing that I still very adamant about is that you can go to the festival and see every single movie we have playing. We don't compete.
No crossovers.
We don't. We have a couple of repeats just for matinees and things, but we don't want people to compete with one film to compete with one another. You go to a Sundance or any other festival, you have 4, 5, 6 movies playing at the same time in different venues across the city. And if you wanted to see all 6 of those movies, chances are you probably won't be able to fit that into your schedule during the week. Even if you're a crazy person like I am, seeing 40 movies at a festival like I normally do. But here at this festival, you can see every single film on the schedule, and you can do that with a pass, and you'll even get the closing night party for only $150.
It's awesome.
Bingo.
Get involved, right?
Yeah.
I love it. You can go out there. You can meet Erik Childress. You'll probably bump into Ride a Movie the guy.
I'll be there all week. I'll be introducing movies. I'll be there at the front table. I'll be organizing things. We literally have no staff.
Right.
We have no staff. We've had one volunteer in 5 years. Because we have the Music Box staff. We have the great Music Box staff, and we don't have to do anything.
Best.
They really do, yes. I've been to a couple of film festivals there. They They know what they're doing
Yeah,
over at
and
the
we've
music
had
box.
the general manager, Ryan, of the
Yes.
music box
Mr.
right here
Ostrike.
on Cinemajaw. Absolutely. So, and also for the Jawheads that want to follow you on Twitter or read your reviews or follow you, all that good stuff, where to do so.
You can follow me on Twitter at Erik the Movie Man, not just Movie Man, but it's Erik with a K. Very, very important distinction from those C's out there. So Erik with a K, the Movie Man. I'm on Facebook, and again, eFilm Critic, very easy to find.
Do it.
Yes.
Good
do.
stuff. Yes. So Erik is sitting in on this entire Jaw. He has his top 5 movie nights. Plus, he also saw Guardians of the Galaxy, Matt.
Yeah.
Pretty excited. But it brings us to a segment called Eye for an Eye, Interested or Ignore. Phil?
Yes, eye for an eye. King Arthur. Robbed of his birthright, Arthur comes up the hard way in the back alleys of the city. But once he pulls the sword from the stone, he is forced to acknowledge his true legacy, whether he likes it or not. The film stars Charlie Hunnam, Jude Law, and Eric Bana. It is written for the screen and directed by Guy Ritchie, whose last directed film was 2015's The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
All right, Matt. I don't know who out there in the studio, the fans, was asking for another King Arthur film, much less in the Guy Ritchie style. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like the Guy Ritchie style. I think he was very promising when we were seeing him doing Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels or Snatch, even though I'm not even that big a fan of Snatch. I don't like the Sherlock Holmes movies. I just don't. I thought The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was actually pretty decent. But when I saw King Arthur, I laughed. Who's greenlighting King Arthur movie in 2017?
With
I'm
all
not
American
asking for it.
actors?
Ignore. Matt?
Yeah, man. I mean, I got to pretty much parrot everything you just said. And the amazing Americanness of it, too. It just doesn't... it's missing something. Ignore.
Eric?
I forgot to ask, can you swear on the show?
You can. We put in fun edits.
That's okay. I just wanted to ask because when Guy Ritchie gets brought up, I do tend to swear quite a bit. I thought you were very generous in your appraisal of Mr. Ritchie there. I think he's a garbage director. I don't think he's done anything good. I think he's destroyed Sherlock Holmes. He's probably going to destroy King Arthur. Talked about numbers earlier. I think King Arthur is going to be one of the biggest bombs of the summer.
I agree.
Garbage.
3
Get it outta here.
ignores.
You didn't even like Lock, Stock?
No.
Really?
No.
I like that.
Lock,
one.
Stock's good.
That was a period where everyone was trying to ape Tarantino.
Right.
And that was just, it was just, bleh.
We throw it to Phil. Phil, any interest in King Arthur?
So it's 4 for 4. I'm very uninterested. And my main reason is actually because I think that there is already like a perfect edition of this story, which is the episode of The Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy Turner goes back in time. That is a
I
great
wasn't
way.
expecting that.
I thought for sure you were going to come up with a Disney classic, but you went straight to Fairly Odd
Oh
Parents.
no, it is Butch Hartman this time.
Wow.
I'm not just Disney. It's all cartoons, Matt.
All right, fair enough.
4 ignores for King Arthur. I agree also with Eric. This is going to be a big bomb at the box office. They have to be worried about it. This is going to be a
I'm
mess.
going to be searching for that international dollar for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Well, speaking of new movies, Matt.
Yes. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Can this sequel to Marvel's ragtag left field hit of 2015 live up to the original? Me and Rye hit the theater to find out.
The fate of the universe lies on your shoulders. Now, whatever you do, don't push this button. Because that will set off the bomb immediately, and we'll all be dead. Now, repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone. Try again.
I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I'm Groot.
No! Does anybody have any tape out there? I want to put some tape over the death button.
Nobody has any tape.
Not a single person has tape.
You have an atomic bomb in your bag. If anybody's gonna have tape, it's you.
I have to do everything.
You are wasting a lot of time.
That's a really bad sign.
James Gunn has done it again. Mostly. The film opens up with the eponymous Guardians fighting against a giant monster, and we know right away that the visuals here are going to be amped up from the first entry. And the film does not disappoint with a saturated color palette and some fantastic set pieces that will keep your eyeballs on the edge of their seats. This time around, Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot are joined by former villain Nebula, played by Karen Gillian, and space pirate Yondu, played by the always delightful and menacing Michael Rooker, who both get nicely expanded backstories and upped emotional weight. The main thrust of the film is the story of Chris Pratt's Star-Lord's lineage as he meets a man who claims to be his father. But can he trust this man? The Guardians are not too sure. There's also a few nice side plots that keep the action coming. Does this film live up to the original, Ryan? No. Frankly, it doesn't. But how could it possibly? The success of Guardians Volume 1 was largely built on a what the hell is this unexpectedness that could not possibly be replicated. But I do believe this is a worthy sequel. The comedy is what takes center stage in this entry with some genuine laugh-out-loud moments. However, if I had to pick a main criticism, it would be that it was trying to be too funny. There was a conscious effort, and sometimes the gags bordered dangerously close to silly. That being said, I was on board for 90% of the humor, and Dave Bautista as Drax is once again a standout for the humor, as his character's literal nature lends itself nicely to joke-making. There's one unexpected cameo at the end that will either have you rolling on the floor or rolling your eyes, depending on your sensibilities. And no, I don't mean the Stan Lee cameo. Baby Groot needs to be mentioned. I was skeptical. I wanted the big guy, but I was wrong. Baby Groot is adorable, not annoying, definitely not the Jar Jar of the Guardians. In short, I am Groot.
Wow, Matt, I really think, getting to my thoughts here, because you seem very pleased with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I really think this film should have been called Guardians of the Explanation. Where the first film felt like a fun adventure, this one feels like it is all exposition. This is especially true in the middle section of the film where the Guardians are split up and we bounce back and forth between the different groups of characters sitting around explaining past histories or why someone is angry with someone else. And now, because the ultimate villain here in the film is not revealed until the last third or so,
Yeah, the final act.
I felt that the middle of Volume 2 dragged because of this. I didn't see where it was going exactly, and I didn't care for that. We do get plenty of the what Marvel is good at, and you hinted at this, Matt. Huge CGI set pieces and action sequences. They were beautiful to look at for sure. I enjoyed most of those. The last 20 minutes especially. Others, such as the opening one with the monster in the middle and Baby Groot dancing around, felt uninspired. If I had to pick an element of the film that stood out for me, it was the casting of one Kurt Russell. Perfect. However, when I think back to the ending of the film, I remember the ending of the first film, I should say, I remember feeling I wanted more from this motley crew. Not the case this second time around. I didn't hate Volume 2, but I think I've had enough of the Guardians for a while. We throw it to Eric. Where do you chime in on this?
Where do I chime in on this? So let's prologue by saying that I agree with a lot of what Matt said, but in relation to the first movie. I think this is better than the original.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes.
Eric.
No.
Jesus.
We're gonna fight. No, I'm one of the people that was not completely on board with the first movie, and for a lot of the reasons that you talked about, because I thought that the first movie, because I've thought about this a lot, because I get this reaction all the time. So I have to try to put it into words exactly why I was feeling a certain way. And it's not because I'm down on Marvel or down on comic books. I happen to like many of these films. But the Guardians of the Galaxy, to me, there were a couple things in place with that first one that I thought detracted from it. One was how hard it was trying to be different, how hard it was trying to establish Chris Pratt as this kind of like this goofy, if you ever want to see a performance, I think, of a guy trying too hard to be goofy and serious and, winking and nudging you at the same time, that entire movie, Chris Pratt's performance. And also the kind of the insistence of trying to fit its way into the Marvel universe, and with the Infinity Stone, and how these characters were going to in any way connect with this universe that had been set up through all these movies. So the villain to me is Lee Pace, completely boring as the villain. Was not a movie built around its action set pieces. It really wasn't. It was a movie that was built around the chemistry between the characters.
Mm-hmm. And what a chemistry in that first film.
I would say half true. I think Bradley Cooper as Rocket is extraordinary. I think he does extraordinary voice work. And Dave Bautista was a complete surprise to me. I thought he was really funny. Zoe Saldana, to me, has never been interesting to me. I don't care what color she's playing. Blue, green,
Doesn't
dark
matter.
brown, and Nina, it doesn't matter. She's never been that interesting to me. And then, like I already gave you my Chris Pratt thoughts. So with this one to me feels in the same way that Spider-Man 2 built off the success of the original Spider-Man because it became Sam Raimi's movie. Like, Sam Raimi did Spider-Man. He did it exactly the way they wanted to do it. Then he's just like, you know something? I gave you all this. This is going to be mine. And he made Spider-Man 2, and he made one of the best comic book movies ever been made, in my opinion.
No arguments.
Okay, there you go. So with this one, I have the same feeling with James Gunn, is that he completely shocked everyone. This became a huge hit. Everyone loved it, almost everyone. And so he did a movie that in many ways feels like a standalone adventure. It doesn't feel like it's forcing its way into the remainder of the universe. There are probably little bits and things that, as someone not too familiar with the comics, probably I'm not aware of. So maybe there are touches that real hardcore fans see
Pick
in
up
it.
on.
But
Sure.
I don't.
The
I was-
Watchers in particular.
Right, exactly. And there's a thing at the end, one of the tags at the end, the middle tag. I won't say what that is, the golden people.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I thought that they were able to spend more time on developing these characters, and I like the fact that you don't really have an established villain for most of the way. And when you finally do get an established villain, it's much better than Lee Pace. And I thought that because we were able to develop these characters, that it led to a more emotional resonance by the end of the film. I didn't feel that the movie was going out of its way to be quirky. It felt more natural this time, and I was much happier with. And I think it's a very interesting dissection of the sort of the connection between humans, gods, the universe, and all that kind of thing. I think I was thinking a lot about that stuff on the way home from the movie that I liked when I watched it, and then I liked even more the more I thought about it.
Sure.
So I have an observation, and I want to get both of your opinions on, and it ties into what you're saying here, Eric. The first film is emotionally weighted toward the beginning, right? It opens up with that crushing, really sad scene, almost sort of like the beginning of Up.
Yeah.
Where Star-Lord's mom, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything, Star-Lord's mom passes away. It's like the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And we don't get that in the beginning of Guardians 2, right? It opens with a big action set piece, and then it's sort of emotionally weighted toward the end, where the end of the movie, and I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say it has a lot of gravitas emotionally. And so is that maybe just a preference thing for you, where you got the emotional payoff toward the end of the film versus at the beginning?
No, no. Excuse me, because one, you mentioned Up. I mean, so clearly, I don't care when the emotional resonance comes, as long as it delivers, and it delivers it with honesty. Okay. Yes, the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy does end on that really kind of horrific note, especially if you've ever gone through anything like that. So it starts off in a place like that, and then immediately, what does it do? It immediately gets goofy. It's like, oh, here's Chris Pratt dancing around to pop tunes and stuff. And it's like, okay, so we're gone from this to this, and then the rest of the movie is that for a good portion, and Chris Pratt doing his thing. And then at the very end, even though I didn't care how they defeated the villain, there is that sort of that bonding that the movie kind of rests its head upon, which I think is nice. I don't think it was completely earned because of the rest of the tone of the film, but I thought it was nice. I'm like, that's a nice place to to go. Okay, I wish I had felt a little bit more because the rest of the movie wasn't so much that.
Now, one complaint I have about Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is this fact that Eric is talking about how Chris Pratt is dancing around and being goofy in the first one, but the second one just upped all that goofiness times 10.
And what's with
I don't
that
agree with that.
mustache?
I thought it was ridiculous. Some of the scenes, the comedy. If you had to say what this film is, put it in a category, is it an action film, a whatever,
Science fiction.
If I had to judge it, I would say this is a comedy first and foremost. That's where I would
you could
put
say
it.
that if you're
It
going to say
tried way too hard on the comedy.
If you're going to say this is a comedy, then you got to say the first movie's a comedy.
See, I don't think that way.
No,
I thought it was.
agree. I kind of agree.
I like the idea that it was a little bit goofy, but it had that adventure feel in the first one. The way the plot worked in the first one, where he was just getting this orb, and then it just sort of led. The way you hear the always saying, "Show me, don't tell me." The way it just sort of all evolved, the plot in the first one made it feel like this adventure that they all just sort of came together upon. This one seemed like they were explaining way too much in the middle and just ripping one-liners at each other like crazy.
Well, but tie that into Chris Pratt, though, because you mentioned Chris Pratt, and you said it 10 times more. To me, one of the strengths of this movie is that it actually dilutes Chris Pratt's presence while he's, dealing with his daddy issues with Kurt Russell. And so you get these individual moments. Well, yes, I mean, granted, you go to see a Guardians movie, you may want to see them all together. But I think by separating them and giving them these individual moments and working out a lot of issues that each character has, Rocket and in particular, and the sister relationship between Gamora and Nebula.
Yes,
Nebula. There you go. I think those are very strong, and the Rooker stuff I think is great.
I agree
in this movie. So the fact that Chris Pratt, even though he has maybe my favorite line in the movie, to have him kind of off to the side and not being the hey, I'm Chris Pratt, and I think elevates the film.
You think somebody had a better line than Kurt Russell's "I'll be back, I gotta take a piss"?
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Yes,
what was
I do.
it? What was it? Can we say, or is it a spoiler?
No, it's not a spoiler. It's got a swear word in it.
Go for it. Go for it.
This is fine.
I'm going to create some weird shit.
That was good.
It's a great line. It's a great line, and Kurt Russell's got a couple better lines than that too.
I loved Kurt Russell in this movie.
Kurt Russell's great.
I thought, let's be honest, too many David Hasselhoff jokes.
Yes.
Five too many? 4 too many?
No. Well, I mean, you have to count how many there are. Yeah, there's maybe 1 or 2. Like the final, it goes. It gets to. I think it gets to its point, its peak, and then it kind of pushes over the peak with one last thing, which didn't need.
Okay, another element I wrote down where the movie sort of lost me. I can't stand, and if anybody who's writing a screenplay here, take note here. Don't write characters going through an asteroid field to get away from people. I hated this part in the movie. And on top of that, they talk about how hard it's going to be, and yet they're switching controls. And I always joke about this line of movie believability that I have. I got to keep it within there. And this is just so ridiculous. They're switching controls. They're in an asteroid field, and somehow they're dodging all the asteroids when everybody else around them is getting smacked.
Yeah,
stupid. That was terrible.
That you would even go to the level of believability, I think, lessens your argument a little bit.
I know what
but it's like people, finally getting to like Fate of the Furious 8 and going like that. The submarine was too much. I'm like the last 7 movies they were street racers.
Yes.
Now they're chasing down torpedoes.
But I always say there's like an element of it can be talking fish or whatever. I'm there for the moment, but something can happen that takes me out of it. Like that was just like, what? This is so dumb. I've seen this done too many times where they go through the asteroid field.
But
Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the granddaddy of them all. And the action sequences in both of these movies are hardly their standout traits. I mean, yes, they're colorful and they're loud and they're probably a lot more fun for kids than they are for adults who should understand what a good action scene is. They're just obstacles to get around. So you can elevate a bad movie with a great action sequence. See Atomic Blonde this summer. It doesn't elevate it quite enough, but anyway. So when the action finally comes and it becomes this big apocalyptic thing at the end, it didn't matter what was happening around them, but I did care what was happening to them. I was worried that they were going to get out of it or not, or in whatever way they could, as opposed to going like, oh, they have to save this, so this will happen in the Infinity Stone. Like, I don't care about any of that, but this time I cared about the characters.
I can't argue. I love the characters, man. I was in it for that.
All right, let's break it down a little bit further here. Did you have a favorite scene in the movie, Matt?
I did, yeah. When Groot keeps so Rocket and Yondu are, let's just say, trapped, and they send Baby Groot to find Yondu's fin, and he keeps coming back with the wrong thing. And I just thought that was hilarious. I really want to highlight how great Baby Groot was, because it could have gone south very easily, and it worked.
In fact, there was a moment where they were trying to teach Baby Groot what button to press, and they would go over the sequence of it all, and he would keep messing it up. And you wouldn't think that would work with a computer-generated character like that, but it was hilarious.
Two computer-generated, because
right.
It's Rocket, too.
It was so funny. Did you have a favorite scene, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I like that scene very much, but there's a very simple scene between Kurt Russell and Chris Pratt where Chris Pratt creates this ball of energy and what transpires after that.
Yes,
I thought that was it was funny and sweet at the same time, and I laughed and kind of like, aw, at the same time.
Mine actually was Baby Groot as well as what I had
Really?
wrote down.
That same one?
I love that scene. That was where I think I enjoyed it the most.
That's weird,
What
Ryan.
I know, but what I did write down, just in case someone had said that one, the movie opens up with a young Kurt Russell. And I mean, talk about setting the tone for a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He has that feathered hair. I laughed out loud. I know people in the theater heard me. I mean, it was a belly laugh when he came on. That was hysterical.
And those special effects have come a long way since Tron Revolution. I was looking for the seams. I was looking for the uncanny valley, and I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
It looked totally real.
Yeah, between that and what they did in Rogue One, obviously Ant-Man.
No, this is way better than Rogue One.
Oh no, it's better. Yes, no, it's better. I'm just saying that you can actually chart the progression. Every time they've tried this, I think it's gotten a little bit better.
Honestly, I think Tron Revolutions was better than Rogue One. That was messed up.
Well, that would just creeped you out.
Yeah,
more than
Tarkin
anything.
and Princess Leia just didn't look right. They should have hired the Guardians people to do it. Seriously.
Hey, talk about a bad scene in Guardians. Did you have issues with anything?
Yeah,
Struggles?
I did. So the aforementioned cameo, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so I don't want to mention exactly who it is, but there's a cameo that comes, and I just thought it was ridiculous, over the top, and unnecessary. And they went for it. I get it. It made the final cut, but I didn't like it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do now. Yeah, there's a trend in a lot of these comic book movies and even non-comic book movies where when you get to the apocalyptic ending kind of thing, there's always like big giant balls of energy or globules on Earth that show up and just start destroying everything. We saw this in Suicide Squad and Green Lantern and all these types of things. And it seemed completely unnecessary to like see what was going on Earth, as if I was going to be, the universe is going to be destroyed, so Earth is a part of it. But no, we have to, be egocentric and put Earth in there. And I always wonder what happens after, because the stuff eventually stops at some point. I always wonder what the cleanup of that is like.
Yeah.
I'd watch 2
Guys
hours
with
of that.
jackhammers.
Yeah.
I like it. I had two that I had sort of had issues with. One was the space crash landing where the blue guy, what's his name? The character?
Yondu?
Yeah, Yondu is... No.
Michael Rooker, right?
No. The guy with the normal Guardian.
Oh, Drax.
Drax.
I wouldn't say he's blue. He's sort of gray.
Whatever.
But go on.
All right, whatever. That's who I was looking for. Drax is literally dangling out of the spacecraft. I don't know why they have to go for this. Again, I know you're going to make fun of me here, Eric, about going that. It just seems so unbelievable. But he's literally dangling out of a spacecraft, going down, running into trees. It's just... They went a little bit too much. Just have the thing crash. And then he just gets up and starts laughing. It's like, oh, so what is he, Superman?
Well, he's pretty strong.
He's got muscles.
Didn't like it. And then the other one,
He's a superhero, Ryan.
This is me making fun of the Marvel fans like Matt and these people in the theater. There's, of course, these multiple tags after the credits end, and you got to stay for them. And the serious one is my scene that I hated second most because, A, I don't know what these gold people are. I don't know Marvel at all. And I find it so funny to hear how quiet the theater is when that scene comes on. You would think they're bringing back Abraham Lincoln from the dead for 5 seconds. That's how serious everybody is in the theater at this point. They're all so quiet. And I was about to yell out, "You losers."
One guy in my row did have an orgasm when that happened.
Honestly,
It was so jokey.
I found the tags pretty disappointing.
End
There
it
was
already,
really nothing.
Marvel.
They didn't
End it.
advance any.
Yeah.
Like some of the ones in the past, you see a new Infinity Stone, you see Thanos putting something on his glove. Like that would have been cool. But
How about movie influences on Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
I mean, I think they're obvious. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right.
Yeah, we mentioned Empire Strikes Back already, obviously, and there's a little Field of Dreams in there. Inception, the whole idea of creating your own world. I thought that that was in there. Last Starfighter and
Ooh, nice one.
Toys.
Nice.
The
seen
Robin
Toys?
Williams.
Yeah, if you
joint?
remember in Toys that there was they were training kids to basically be drone pilots and stuff, and there's that scene where a couple scenes where all the pilots are not actually on the spaceships.
Or Ender's Game. You could even
Could even say Ender's Game.
Yeah, it did have some Ender's Game feel. That's a good one. I for some reason I really attached to the forced comedy that was in our face constantly. I went with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's a good
I can
one.
see that.
It
yeah.
really had that vibe. And then I threw Spaceballs out there because there were some weird references in this movie that was Spaceballs-esque, I thought.
It almost got to that territory.
I thought so. I thought
kind
it with that one cameo near the end, I thought it did.
I agree. That was
The cameo is not. I'm not going to defend the cameo, but I will. I will defend the movie up against what you're saying, just because I think that's a criticism of the first movie to me.
Yeah. See, I didn't find.
And I love Spaceballs, by the way. Let's just make that clear.
All right. Did you learn anything here, Matt?
Did I learn anything? I am Groot.
Eric?
I got nothing.
I did. I learned that a franchise can continually use family as a theme and not be BS.
It's good.
I also learned who Star-Lord's dad is.
Yeah. I had here, and I've already mentioned it, that David Hasselhoff jokes are in vogue.
I don't think they are. I mean, SpongeBob did it.
I know.
10 years ago.
Well,
And we have Baywatch coming up.
I know.
on top
At least,
of it,
at least
so
the movie
we're
thought.
not done with it
yeah,
yet.
Geez. Movie poster quote. You got one, Matt?
I do. You're not going to like it because I'm using the same thing again, but it's I am Groot all over again.
Nice. Eric?
Chris Pratt is finally used right.
I went with heavy on the laughs, short on the adventure.
Wah, wah.
Like the first one.
All right, let's assign some grades here. We're on a 4-jaw scale. Matt, what are you giving Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
All right. I liked this movie. I had fun. And it's really unfair because it's up against itself, which was a left field hit. Everybody loved it. It's adored. It's tough going first here. I'm going to go ahead and give this 3 jaws.
3 jaws.
I'm
Eric?
going to 3 solid.
Since we're grading on that kind of scale, if you got to go 3, then I guess I have to go 3.5 because I would go 3.5, a soft 3.5. But
Hate to be the downer here. I'm going 2 jaws. Middle of the road for me. I
think-
wouldn't even
think it-
really recommend the movie. I would just say it's okay. That's what I'd say.
Can I just add something really quick?
Yeah,
Just something
absolutely.
I noticed in the way that we're talking about this movie. It reminds me a lot. I'm curious to see how big fans of the first one do react to this one, because they're probably not going to be in my camp. They might be closer to your camp than mine. But it reminds me a lot of how the Pirates of the Caribbean series was kind of perceived, in that the first one was just like, oh, this is just some ride and turned into a movie, and everyone went, oh, that was surprisingly good. And then they upped the game for the sequels, and everyone's just like, oh, why are these epic movies based on a ride? I'm like, wait a minute, you like the first one, and now they're actually taking the pirate genre seriously in a way that we haven't seen in some time, and you're going to poo-poo it because now it's 2.5 hours, and you don't think a movie like that should be 2.5 hours. I don't know. That's me defending the Pirates, the trilogy at least,
All
not
right.
the fourth movie.
Yeah. Well, if you have seen, and I'm sure a lot of jawheads have now seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, write us at Twitter. If you have Twitter pulled up, we're at CinemaJaw, or our
Shoot
email.
us an email, yeah.
Yeah. Feedback at cinemajaw.com. Let us know if you agree, disagree, all that good stuff. And comment on Eric's theory. I'd like to hear what they say.
Yeah, I would too.
So,
It's an interesting theory.
Yeah, 3.5 from Eric, 3 from Matt K, 2 from Ride the Movie Guy. So we got a good splatter.
I
of
think you're a
Guardians of the Galaxy
curmudgeon,
2.
dude.
Yeah, I think so too.
I do want to say this too, in case there's people out there who haven't seen it and want to know how much to spend their money. Should they go for that extra 3D? I give the 3D a thumbs up on this one. I thought it was awesome.
I was fine with the 3D,
Yeah.
and I was so fine with it I didn't remember I was watching it in 3D.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the
that's a
ending
plus.
CGI set where they're in a planet and all around, it looked awesome. So,
Yeah, spring for 3D.
yep, there you go. All right, Matt. No, I guess, straight knights in that movie, but we did go eye for an eye on King Arthur. So we are doing our favorite movie nights. Top 5, and we're going to go sort of quick because we went long on Guardians, and
Yeah.
that's why this was an easier list to do. You're getting to start it, Matt. What
All
do you
right,
got?
let's just get this guy right out of the way. Straight out of the gate, I'm going with Aragorn, King of Men, Strider, Lord of the Rings. Do I really need to talk about Viggo Mortensen's performance here? I mean,
No, I mean, he looked so cool. Remember when he opened up the double doors? I think that was in number 2 or number 3. He comes into like one of the big halls.
Two
and-
towers, I believe.
Yeah, and he's just like, wow, this guy's a
His
badass.
flowing, dirty hair and stuff. Yes.
that made him. Yes, he was the hero of the series, and it was a great knight who would be the king.
yeah.
Nice one.
I
Eric?
can't argue with that. He didn't make my list, but just because I didn't think of him. But Max von Sydow as Antonius Block in The Seventh Seal,
I have not seen this.
playing chess with death.
Yes, very famous.
Yes.
Lampooned by Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes, fantastic.
I have seen Bill and Ted's.
You have sunk my battleship.
Yes, William Sadler as Death, fantastic.
Nice. That's one that I got to catch up with.
Me too.
Swings it over to my number 5, and this is where I probably the one I was thinking most outside of the box because he is in no way a star of the film, but he delivers one of my favorite lines in this entire series. I'm speaking of the Grail Knight in The Last Crusade.
That's a good one. I thought of that one.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
And the actor who played the Grail Knight was Robert Edison. And, of course, this is where Indiana Jones goes through this whole little booby trap thing to get to the Grail. And now he's got to figure out what Grail would have Jesus Christ drank from. And, of course, after he chooses, the famous line is, "You have chosen wisely." Love it.
Man, I haven't thought about that scene in a long time.
And I was actually thinking as I was writing my notes, if not judging the Indiana Jones movies, but just the ending sequences of the 3, because I was like, man, do I love that Last Crusade ending. It's probably the best in the series. But then as I was thinking about it, I was like, boy, do I love that Temple of Doom when they're on the bridge. And then it's like, oh, and the arc is just so classic also. I would have a tough time just judging the ending of the films. So
they're all good. Tough to
good
rank.
Discussion. So the Grail Knight was my number 5. We are into our 4s, Matt.
All right. At number 4, you talked about great lines from these nights. What about "Give me some sugar, baby"? Or "That's just pillow talk"? Or "This is my boomstick"? I'm talking about Ash from Army of Darkness.
Boo.
No.
I knew you were
How
going to
could
have
you
this
boo
on this
that?
list. Just because I know you love Ash so much.
Oh, Ash goes back in time to the medieval ages. He gets a suit of armor. He's got his chainsaw. The trunk of his car has books on chemistry, and it's just freaking hilarious. I mean, Sam Raimi is a genius. We can all agree on that, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Semi.
Come on, man.
Most of the time.
The Evil Dead movie was...
Did he not make Spider-Man 3?
He did.
Did he not?
He
Okay.
did.
Case closed.
All right, yes. Emo Peter Parker, notwithstanding, Ash is an absolute masterpiece, and Bruce Campbell knocks it out of the park. Evil Dead was great. I almost think Army of Darkness, it's kind of a different animal, but I almost think it's better. It definitely amps up the comedy, and it's a fantastic night.
Nice.
That's my
I
number
knew.
4.
I actually thought it was going to be your number 1, so I'm a little shocked it's at 4. Eric?
So 2 things really quick. One, I apologize. I did not rank these.
Okay.
I
fine.
apologize for that. 2, Sam Raimi also made For Love of the Game. So not a good film.
I didn't know he made that.
Oh, it's bad.
Wow.
Good baseball stuff is good. All the domestic stuff is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the next one that I came up with, Paul Jeffrey as Percival in Excalibur. This is the knight that was the squire that was going to defend Guinevere's honor when Lancelot doesn't show up at the joust, and then eventually becomes the one knight that delivers the Holy Grail to King Arthur and is there at his death. So
Excalibur.
Noble.
Yeah.
Noble. Have you ever seen Excalibur?
Yes, 1981.
Okay. Yes.
Honorable mention of mine. I love that movie.
When he mentioned Fairly Odd Parents as like the end-all be-all of King Arthur, I thought he was going to say Excalibur. So I haven't seen Fairly Odd Parents, so I can't judge that. But once you make Excalibur, there's no need to do another King Arthur unless you do some Lord of the Rings type thing, because there's a lot of mythology with King Arthur. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and if you did a trilogy and did it right, it could probably be very cool. But to do these standalone things like Antoine Fuqua did with Clive Owen, which is the real story of King Arthur, which is bad, and then Jerry Zucker does one with Sean Connery, great casting, but then Richard Gere's Lancelot, no, bad. First Night, not good, and then now Guy Ritchie, no.
No, just end it.
Excalibur. That's all you need.
I remember watching Excalibur right when Crawl was really big. And me and my brother would watch these movies all the time. We were all into the swords and sorcery stuff.
Yeah.
So we loved it. Swings it over to my number 4. I really wanted to put a woman on my list. And
well
the
done.
one that I came up with, that I think the movie was rather weak, but her performance as Joan of Arc in The Messenger, 1999. I'm speaking of Mila Jovovich.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And the movie, not so good, but her performance, I think, was pretty damn well.
Okay, one, you made a colleague of mine very happy with that choice.
Who? Brian Tallarico.
No, our good friend Peter Subzinski, who will also be there at the festival. big Mila fan. I think that's one of the worst performances I've ever seen in my life.
What?
Whoa.
What are you talking about?
No, one of the worst
Oh,
performances.
No way.
When she gives the charge for the battle scene, one of the most embarrassing moments I've ever seen. in
Oh,
cinema.
I liked it. I liked it.
Awful.
Obviously, it's
awful film.
This,
Luke Besson, go away. Go.
No, it's this
away.
idea. You got to get this girl's got to get all these people behind her to fight, and she gives that charge. It's like, yeah, I'm there with her. I don't think the movie was that good, but her performance was.
He's like,
I still got to catch up with the Passion. Isn't that what it's called? The Passion of Joan of Arc, the really old.
yeah, the old one. Yeah,
Is that what
the
it's
classic
called?
one. Mhm.
Yes.
I have not seen that one either. For
No.
my
Yes,
money,
see
just
that.
end it with The Messenger. It's a worthy
Just
performance.
end it. Just end me.
That was my number 4, Joan of Arc. We
yeah.
are into our 3s.
All right. At number 3, this was not a question of is Monty Python going to end up on this list. It's just which knight from Monty Python. And I could have gone with the French knight who farts in your general direction. I could have gone with the Black Knight who, famously said it's but a flesh wound. But ultimately, I think the one that was nearest and dearest to my heart are the knights who say knee.
You want the whole gang,
Well done.
the whole group,
Yeah.
the whole group.
It's
Okay,
just shrubberies.
shrubberies. Yes.
Strawberries. I love it.
Okay.
Just going to leave it right there.
Yeah. So I'm doing a re-rank now that we know where to rank, and Max von Sydow should be higher, but we'll leave him where he is. So my number 3 is also going to be from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's not the Knights Who Say Knee. It's not anyone you mentioned. I picked an individual knight, and I picked John Cleese as Lancelot. Now, for a couple reasons. One, Lancelot is always held up as the great glorious Lancelot. He's the the greatest knight ever. But he screws over King Arthur with Guinevere. In Monty Python and the Holy Grail, he doesn't. There is no Guinevere. There is no cheating. So Lancelot is pure and slaughters an entire castle. And John Cleese is my favorite Python. So. John
Enough said.
Cleese.
No
I don't
arguments
think
again.
you can pick a wrong night in Monty Python.
No, there's no
So
wrong
who'd you
answer
pick
there.
for Monty Python?
Mine's coming up further down the list.
Yeah.
But he's
Okay.
on there. I do have Monty Python there.
Okay, good.
My number 3 is none other than William Thatcher. Who? Everybody's thinking,
Who?
Who's William Thatcher? I'm speaking of the peasant turned knight, played by Heath Ledger in A Knight's Tale. Wow, me and Eric are going to blows here. I mean, he is shaking his head. I mean,
He looks like he's in
violently.
pain.
Yes, I mean, I didn't mean to
I was so
pain
afraid
the
that
man.
movie was going to get brought up when you told me this topic.
It's a pretty good movie.
Oh,
You
it's
don't
a
like it?
wonderful movie. It's a wonderful movie. It's a fun movie.
You know how many
Eric.
stars I gave that movie?
On what scale? 4 or 5?
1 to 4, I guess.
4.
0.
Oh,
You don't like A
Donuts.
Knight's Tale?
what?
Donut.
You don't like to have fun.
No, yeah, I do.
Wow,
like to
this
have
is
fun.
this is
was
I
a
usually-
do
lot
like to
of
have fun,
fun.
and I like Queen. So why that movie doesn't work? Because it's garbage.
No, the jousting scenes they're
Bad.
fun, they're hilarious. There's a little
No.
action involved.
No.
Plus Heath Ledger. This was like the start of
This is
like
before anyone
Heath
liked Heath
Ledger's-
Ledger.
Right. This was the first movie that I really noticed Heath Ledger in, and actually thought, boy, this guy's got a chance. He's pretty
Well,
funny.
I-
He
I'm
was
a big-
very charismatic on screen.
I actually like the Brothers Grimm, so
I do too. I'm with him.
Ah, jeez, that
with him.
movie's terrible. Watch A Knight's Tale. It's based on the Canterbury Tales.
You're gonna make me watch a Brian Helgeland film before a Terry Gilliam film.
Well,
No.
that might not. That the way you phrased it there sounds
Right.
wrong. But A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, the Brian
it's
Helgeland
good.
filmography does not hold up.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that Heath Ledger's performance again as this knight, who's really a peasant. I mean, he makes up a whole lineage to be able to fight in these jousting. It's a fun.
Are you a
movie.
fan of The Order 2, where he got the gang back together from A Knight's Tale? Brian Helgeland?
no.
He had Ledger and
Can't-
Shannon
can't say
Sossaman
as
and
much.
Mark Addy in that too. That movie's terrible too.
All right, Knight's Tale. That's
Yeah.
my number 3.
Okay.
All right.
I gotta see Knight's Tale again. It's been a long time.
No, you don't.
I want to get in on this argument.
Yeah, we're into our 2s.
All right. At number 2, he is great. Mad Mardigan. I don't know why I have a soft spot for Willow. Probably because, like you, Rye, who rewatched, what were the films you mentioned when you were a kid? Krull and Beastmaster. And
Excalibur.
Beastmaster, baby.
Yeah, those were all in there.
oh, for sure. For some reason, Willow lived in my VCR for a long time, and I absolutely love Val Kilmer as Mad Mardigan. He was just the absolute epitome of a swashbuckler. He's the Errol Flynn of his generation, or at least he was. And I think this was pretty much him at his absolute peak. And I love Mad Mardigan.
He's awesome. I love him all as well.
Yeah, I have kind of a soft spot for Willow. And Val Kilmer, yeah.
Oh, but A
A+.
Knight's Tale's terrible.
It is garbage. Yeah, you're not going to win that argument. But so my number 2 is also from this time period as well, and it's Rutger Hauer and Lady Hawk. Richard Donner's very criminally underlooked film. I think a film that when people see it, they get caught up in how 80s the score by the Alan Parsons Project is, and it is.
Wow.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's got a good beat and you can dance to it. A terrific, a wonderful medieval tale, a tragedy, a romance, an adventure story. It's funny. Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer, we all know the story, right? Where they're cursed, the cursed lovers, and he's a wolf by day or by night, and she's a hawk by day, and they can't see each other except maybe this one little moment they could possibly see each other right as the sun is setting. So a beautiful film, and it's always fun, and we can talk about this with Guardians of the Galaxy as well. One of my favorite things in movies is when you see usually someone who plays a bad guy turn out to be a decent person. They kind of have a change of heart a little bit. I think that's a very cool thing that when movies can pull that off. And here was me knowing Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner and now seeing him as this noble knight in Lady Hawk. I know it's not quite the same thing, but it was cool to see an actor like that at a very young age being able to engage me and scare the hell out of me one way and really root for him in another way.
Wow,
Yeah.
I forgot about Lady Hawk.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut.
I like it.
I haven't seen that in years.
Great movie.
It is a
It's
great
a really
movie.
great movie.
Swings it over to my number 2. And if you know that he was knighted in the movie, you should know, Matt, that he was going to be on my list. Might even been my number 1. I have given the speech numerous times after I've had a few drinks about my freedom. I'm speaking of William Wallace, played by Mel Gibson in Braveheart.
Is he really a knight, though?
I was worried that was going to come up, too.
He
because
does get knighted.
Does he get? He does get knighted.
He does get knighted in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does he?
He absolutely does.
Yeah, at one point he does.
Yes.
After the initial battle.
Yes.
The big initial
right.
battle. Yeah.
He gets
You're right,
knighted.
by Robert the Bruce.
Yes.
Wow.
So
I got to give
figured-
that to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I figured what a great time to talk about William Wallace. And I remember not seeing Braveheart for literally the longest time. My brother had watched it like twice. I was way more into movies than him, and I was like, I'm not going to watch that Mel Gibson garbage. And then when I finally did see it, I mean, the rest is history. I was dressing up as him for Halloween. I
And
memorized,
sometimes just because.
I memorized the speech. I would whip it out anytime a perfect time at a party came up. And
the speech, that is. Yes.
That is the speech. I absolutely love Braveheart and William Wallace. Now when I go back and I watch it, I don't think it is quite as good of a film as I thought it was back in the day. It hasn't, I guess,
Aged as well?
aged as well as I would have liked it to, but I still enjoyed Braveheart a heck of a lot.
The interesting thing about Braveheart is there's a lot of mistakes in the editing, right?
Oh, a ton. Yeah.
It's almost
especially in the battles. Yeah.
right. I mean, I guess it's because I've picked it apart. I've seen it so many times.
I think that's what it does happen. But I know there's one scene I always watch and I'm like, how did they even leave this in? There's like an extra behind him, like just sort of like on the battlefield. It just looks ridiculous. And it's like, God, what is that guy doing? He's barely clothed and he's like standing
Maybe he's just
up.
a bad warrior. Maybe he's just a bad warrior.
But he was on his cell phone.
Yeah. But yeah, I love me some William Wallace, so that was my number 2.
All right, we'll give it to you, man. If I give you that one, you'll have to give me this one. Is he a knight? I think he is. It's right in the title. So I am going with Batman in The Dark Knight.
Boo.
Boo?
You and your
What
Batman.
is a knight? What is a knight if not somebody who's fighting for honor and justice, wears a suit of armor, doesn't necessarily have a sword, but he's got batarangs. And,
Someone tasked by a higher power to fight for them.
well, Commissioner Gordon.
He doesn't fight for Commissioner Gordon, though.
He fights for
He
justice.
fights for justice, which is a higher concept.
It's a higher
So,
calling, yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, listen.
Hey, defended well. I'll give anything to you.
It's right in the title. Eric,
I understand.
He's not the dark. What's the rank underneath knight? Page boy. He's the dark.
Squire?
He's the Dark Knight. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Batman.
Slightly give it to you.
Batman is my number one.
Of course, you had to go outside the box on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But it has to be Dark Knight from The Dark Knight. He can't call him that from Batman Begins because
no,
he's not the.
he was not yet darkly
Knighted
knighted.
by title.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we seem to be developing a pattern here where we have to possibly defend choices. But I will, because I don't believe he was officially knighted, but I can actually make a better argument that
I don't
he was
think my number
a knight.
one's a knight either.
but I think I can mount a better argument that he's actually more of a knight than Batman is, and that's
No,
Peter.
you can't.
There you go. Peter McNichol in Dragon Slayer. Because yes, he is training to be he's an apprentice, a sorcerer's apprentice. So that's what he's technically training for.
Is this the one with the dragon that speaks and it's
No, that's Dragonheart.
That's Dragonheart.
That's
okay.
Dragonheart. No, Dragon Slayer's from 1981. It was a Disney Paramount co-production. Peter
yes.
McNichol, Ralph Richardson, really fantastic. Still, for my money, the best dragon that's ever been on screen ever. And Peter McNichol, through the course of the movie, he's a sorcerer's apprentice, but by the final act of the movie, he's been tasked by the king to rescue the king's daughter from the dragon, and he gets a suit of a piece of armor, and he gets a dragon slayer staff, and he has to go into the cave and be very knight-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's be my number one.
I gotta see that. I think I may have seen it when
I've
I was a
seen it.
kid. I can't remember. I
Not
can't
on
recall.
Blu-ray, only on DVD. It really could use an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my childhood favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have been one of those that my brother showed me when I was really young, and I don't recall it that well. But nice pick at number one. Definitely one I will definitely check out. Swings it over to my number one. I was joking that he's technically not a knight either. He's a king. But I went with King Arthur in Monty Python's Holy Grail. And I was
He's
really,
also a knight.
He is. I was really going for, all the knights in there. Why have horses when you can have coconuts? You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Really the whole movie, and me and Phil were just down at C2E2, and, it's always a scene at the bar afterwards because there's all these people dressed up, drinking, and it's my favorite moment of being at C2E2. And I got this wonderful photo with a guy dressed as King Arthur from Monty Python, and just hilarious.
Did he do the thing where he's walking around with it?
Well, did he do that for me? I don't know. But he definitely stood next, and we had a beer and cheers, and it was funny. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I love Monty Python. It's one of those that you can watch like every 10 years or so and really get a laugh out of because you sort of forget a little bit. But I know I wore the tape out when I was in high school.
Same, yeah. It's classic. I was beaten up many times by the jocks for quoting that at lunch every day.
Yeah, I like to think I introduced Monty Python to my high school by just the things and clips and things that I would insert into projects. That's my humble brag, I guess. But can I do a shameless plug?
Yeah.
really quick?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know when this is gonna air, but on May 10th at the Elk Grove Cinema, so in my neck of the woods in the suburbs, we're actually showing Monty Python and the Holy Grail Wednesday, May 10th as the sing-along edition.
Oh, nice.
So the audience can be there and sing along, and they're going to be selling coconuts, from what I understand.
Awesome.
So
That
play
is good.
along.
I might have to
Should
join
be a fun
you.
time.
Definitely. Jawheads, if we missed your favorite movie night and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw. We will retweet it and get the discussion going. What we're going to do is take a quick break, and when we come back, Matt is taking Eric on in King movie trivia, plus a CinemaWAR looking at Amy Schumer. We'll be right back on Cinemajaw.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a
Hey, Elias, check out my new K&N air filters hat.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Wow, you look like super cool all of a sudden.
Oh, thanks, man. I got it at knnairfilters.com/podcast.
Are you saying KNN, like two N's in a row?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. Actually, it's knfilters.com/podcast.
Nice.
You can get yourself a new air filter for your car, which is going to make your car better, and they'll throw in a free hat.
Got it.
So that makes your head look better.
to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we are back on Cinemajaw, hanging out with Erik Childress, who is finally making his Cinemajaw debut here, Matt. And it was funny, while we were getting ready to record, I was talking about the different movie theaters that we go to here in Chicago for various screenings that I have seen Eric at. And one of them came up was the Icon. And one thing was odd, and I wanted to bring this up, was I said I really like the Icon, and we were discussing this, and Eric revealed that he hates assigned seats in movie theaters. And I said I actually like assigned seats in movie theaters. Matt, where do you sit before I ask Eric for his explanation?
On the aisle.
Do you like assigned seats or not? You idiot, you ass bag.
I don't know. I'm sort of, I guess I'm ambivalent. I don't really care. it is sort of annoying. It's just another layer. I'd rather just walk in and just take a seat somewhere. I mean, this isn't an airline.
Okay.
I'm not taking a flight.
Hey, I'm a fan of it. We throw it to Eric. Why do you hate assigned seats?
Well, like many things in life, there seem to be good intentions behind it at the beginning. It seems like a good idea that you can get assigned seating, you show up anytime you want, and you have your seat. But we live in a first-come, first-serve society, I think, sometimes. And beyond that, the idea of getting there, choosing your seat, an aisle seat, if you will, and not have to worry about people showing up late and telling you to move if you're in the wrong seat and all that kind of stuff. But let me give you a hypothetical. Say you love assigned seating, okay, and you get your assigned seat, and you're in a packed house, okay, almost packed house. Maybe there's like a couple seats in the corner that are vacant. And you get a guy sitting next to you, in front of you, in his assigned seat, a real ass bag. Loud, noisy, making out, just doing everything to ruin your experience. Now you can't get up and move because that's your assigned seat. And if you get up and move to that other seat, some usher from Icon is going to come there and say, "Excuse me, sir, this is your seat." Okay? You can't move. You are trapped. Okay? You don't have the freedom to move to another seat. Icon is a fascist enterprise.
Wow.
Wow.
Those damn fascists at Icon.
He is really angered. I like that.
Yes.
I do at least like that point of view. I can see.
I admire the passion.
I can see that.
I had a really bad experience at our very first press screening at Icon, so I hold that very dear to my
And what's
aching
with the
heart.
glass? Right? We have to address this. Is it still there, or did they fix that?
This is in that upper balcony.
The press box.
Well, it's not necessarily press. And when
Where
the
they have
press
the restaurant and they have the
when
balcony
the press
thing?
isn't up there, it's open to the public for just.
I don't
like
know
drinks.
what glass. I don't know what you're
But there's like a
referring
little
to.
glass ledge. I think it's there for safety, but it actually is
Hinders.
in the view of.
Is it
the
like in the
screen.
front row
Yeah.
like that? Okay,
Yes.
so I mean they the last few at least they've kind of stuck us a little bit further up.
Yeah,
so I
then it
haven't
wouldn't-
really noticed
Then it wouldn't
that.
bother you.
Yeah.
but
If you're in the
glass
front
does.
row, that glass just cuts right into the middle
Yeah.
of the screen. It's super annoying.
Yeah, and since we're bagging on press screenings, since we're privileged, all of us, you go to the Icon and they come out and they give you a big speech at the beginning. It's like, turn off your cell phones, you will be escorted from the thing, and then the movie starts and there they are with their walkie-talkies and blah, 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 in the corner, and like, hey, ass bag, I'm trying to do my job here, and you just gave this big speech telling me to shut off all my stuff, but your walkie-talkie is going off in the middle of the
I
movie.
have had that happen. I remember at
know.
Godzilla specifically. I saw Godzilla there, and it was that exact thing. The guy was right next to me, and his walkie-talkie is going
I think
off
I was
like
with
crazy.
you.
Yeah.
I think I was
It's like,
with you.
And sometimes
Dude,
like
walk
you're
out
in
of the
the
theater.
front row of where they seat you for press. Sometimes you'll have the security person walking back and forth checking things, and right in my field of vision and whatnot. And I could go on all night about assigned seats, particularly for the press row. I mean, I'm not Johnny Snob about I want everyone to enjoy their experience. But they have a press row for a reason, and people are not supposed to be just wandering through there, and they're not supposed to. The press row should not be assigned seats.
Quick follow-up
Gotcha.
question here. I'm just curious, since we're on this train of thought here. Alamo Drafthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Dinner in a movie.
I'm okay with.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm actually against all food and drink in the movie theater.
I mean,
I hate people chomping on their food next to me.
I respect that.
I hate that.
No.
Rappers going, it's just too much.
Well, blame the person, not the game. I guess to coin a
Hate
different
the
phrase.
player, not the game.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Whatever the cool kids are
Yes.
saying.
So to plug, though, the Chicago Film Critics Festival that is happening again at the Music Box.
Where there will be no snacks.
And no assigned seating.
There will be
assigned
There are no assigned seatings. There is no assigned seating at the Chicago Critics Film Festival. I would never allow that. But there
And
will
plenty
be
of
snacks.
snacks,
There's
yes.
popcorn. There's beer. There's a bar in the lounge and whatnot. So everyone can have a really great time at the festival.
There's even these little rooms where you can go urinate.
Oh,
They're
really?
called bathrooms.
Yes, those.
Yes.
The bathrooms.
There's a couple of
They
them.
do have those.
Mhm.
It is happening May 12th through the 18th. Again, Eric, the best place for the listeners to go buy tickets and find schedules.
Go to ChicagoCriticsFilmFestival.com or MusicBoxTheater.com. Well, the full schedule and tickets and passes are all available right now.
Perfect. Do it. Matt, before we get to trivia, before we get to CinemaWAR, We didn't throw a damn thing into the jaw box.
We sure didn't.
But we
That's
thought,
because we have an expert.
I know. I mean, Eric was answering everything.
Yeah. He just knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Look up fascist icon.
But we do want to get Phil's opinion on assigned seats. Maybe not. He might get decapitated. Let's open up that jaw box.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
What's in the box?
Yeah, how's it going, Jawheads? It's good to be out of here. I am so indifferent to assigned seats. I really don't care. It's like I don't know. If a movie theater was a bus, I would still need to take the bus to get to school. So it didn't matter if we had assigned seats or not. I don't know.
But Southwest, you ever fly Southwest?
Yes.
It's kind of nice to be able to sit wherever you want.
Oh, I don't know. It's not the purpose. I don't know. The seat to me is not the experience. You know what I mean?
Sure. It's
right.
the
If
flight.
it's like IMAX versus just a standard screening, that's
Different.
absolute. Yeah, right.
But it's also not a live performance, so you're not paying for better seats anywhere, particularly in the movie. And you still, feel like, well, I don't have to get there early. I can get there whenever I want, which is another thing too, because it encourages people to show up much later.
And then
Okay,
they're
so
bothering
you have that problem as well. And on top of that, I lost my train of thought.
I was going to say we could have did the whole
I
show
started
on
getting
assigned
angry.
seats.
Yeah.
See, in all the movies I see, I'm the oldest person there who doesn't have a child. So I think that also helps. I don't have to worry about the person being too tall. Almost always there are people screaming, so it's never a good audience.
All right.
What theater are you going to?
He's
always
people
Finding
screaming?
Dory.
Oh,
he's big into
you're talking about the
animation.
kids, not like adults in the audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Did you have a fact for us, Phil?
No, I didn't. There was, like you said, nothing thrown in there. Real quick, I do want to say, because of how much I think you and Eric are disagreeing, Ryan, on the next year-end top 10, when we have Brian Tallarico in, we have to bring Eric back. And the caveat is, I think Eric will have to sit next to Ryan. For those who can't see, he's sitting next to Matt now. And then Brian will have to sit next to Matt Kay. And then by the end of the night, none of us are going to leave alive.
It could happen.
Could be our last podcast.
Yeah, I don't think any of us will agree with any of.
Brian and I usually about 3-4 movies on our top 10 usually kind of coincide, and then we have very strong disagreements. But we respect each other, and that's all that matters.
I'm all for growing
That's
the
more than
family
Matt.
at the end of the year. It's a good idea. I like it.
Respect is more than Matt Kay and Ryan share, so that's good. I did, while I was in here, because I could hear through the Jawbox's keyhole, Matt had brought up also, when he was talking about Batman, the things that make a night a night. And you had said it was like wearing a suit of armor and a code of honor.
That's all you need. Yeah.
The actual definition, a knight is a person granted an honorary title of knighthood by a monarch or other political leader for service to the monarch or country, especially in a military capacity.
Commissioner Gordon.
No, he is not a monarch at all.
But he's what was the other one? A political
Leader.
There you go.
For service to the monarchy or country.
He's service to Gotham City.
Boo.
Is that officially a political appointed?
I don't believe it.
Well,
All right. Phil, get back in that jaw box.
Absolutely.
Matt, it brings us to a segment called
CinemaWAR.
CinemaWAR works like this. Me and Matt, we're fighting on a topic. Our guest, Eric, is playing jury this week and telling the listeners at home who he thinks won the CinemaWAR. And it's important, Matt, because we're fighting for 20 seconds of jaw time to rant and rave on whatever we want. Amy Schumer's got a new movie coming out. Phil, tell the jawheads at home what today's CinemaWAR topic is.
Yes, today's CinemaWAR topic, Amy Schumer is comedy's new It Girl. But is she a flash in the pan, or is she someone we will still be talking about in 10 years? Rye, you'll be fighting for someone we will still be talking about in 10 years. Matt, you'll be fighting for a flash in the pan. Let this train wreck of a CinemaWAR begin.
Ryan, Amy Schumer is funny and all, but she is not a titan of cinema. Gilda Radner, Lily Tomlin, Tina Fey, and Amy Poehler. These are names we will still be talking about a decade from now. Amy who?
Matt, we are living in a time when Kim Kardashian is still famous. Do I think Amy Schumer, who is actually a talented comic, writer, and actress, someone who wrote and starred in Trainwreck, will still be going strong in 10 years? Hell yeah.
Let's face it, Rye. Amy got her start by winning a reality TV contest. Now, you name me one person who ever rose to a position of power who is also well known for being a reality TV star. Name one.
Kelly Clarkson.
No one. No one.
Amy Schumer is besties, Matt, with Jennifer Lawrence, the reigning it girl of Hollywood. She is also working on a movie called She Came to Me, which co-stars a couple people called Nicole Kidman and Steve Carell. Her star is still rising.
That was a good Trump joke, by the way. Amy Schumer, Miss Schumer, is perhaps most well known for her sex comedy, which, I'm sorry to say, has a mainstream shelf life. She's 35 now, and I doubt at 45 or 55 her shtick will fly. Change it up, Amy.
No, I like that you bring up her comedy because a key element here, Matt, is that she is a comedian. She can write stuff for herself. This has led to a Netflix deal that has her releasing stand-up specials. When you can write stuff for yourself, you can always find work.
Stand-up specials is not movies. Amy Schumer will be about as relevant in 10 years as Goldie Hawn is today. I'm sure we will all be like, oh, her. I didn't know she was still alive. I can't predict the staying power for Amy. It's not going to happen.
How dare you say that about Goldie?
I said it.
People like Amy Schumer, Matt. She has a personality that regular moviegoers are drawn to. She is never going to be a glamorous movie star. She is one with the people, and the people will keep her around for 10 plus years. I guarantee it, for sure. We are button heads here. As we do each and every week, we throw it to our guest, our jury. Eric, what did you think of this CinemaWAR?
Interesting topic. As the jury or so-called judge, whatever I am, my official title
Executioner.
is here. Executioner, knight, I guess, since we're just throwing that word around.
Yeah.
I think that there are points to be made on both sides. I think, Matt, your point is well taken that her shtick, her, as Cartman might say, she talks about her vagina a lot, that will get old. We all do. Most vaginas get old.
They all do, actually.
They all tend to do. So I agree with you to the extent that if she continues just doing that, as she has tended to do with her stand-up comedy more recently, I think that there is a potential for a very short shelf life. However, you bring up not just the potential in, you mentioned just not as a writer, but as a performer that may be taking on different opportunities. I think she has a dramatic role that's coming out later this year, and you mentioned some other people that she's going to be working with. The Jennifer Lawrence thing, she's supposed to be doing a movie with Jennifer Lawrence at some point, and that should be a thing. So I think that I'm actually going to side with Rye.
Wow, Ryan.
I needed a win. I really needed a win.
I think it's too early to write off Amy Schumer's potential. We've only seen Trainwreck. Snatched, I think, is going to be a hit, actually. Whether it's good or not, we will see, but I think it is going to be a hit. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see beyond Snatched where she's going to go and give her, I would say let's revisit this topic in maybe 18, 24 months. We'll see where we are.
I was going to say, let's revisit it in 10 years. See if Amy, who? What?
Yeah.
We'll probably still be doing Cinemajaw.
Yeah, right.
Because honestly, Gilda Radner, you mentioned Gilda Radner in your list. It's a very impressive list of very funny ladies that we still talk about.
Absolutely.
But if we are talking about in the connection to a cinema career, can you name all of Gilda Radner's cinema excursions, and how many of those can you?
I can name a few.
You can name a few. Are they
Sure.
classics?
Oh, absolutely. I think so.
Go on.
A Haunted Honeymoon.
Really?
What? You don't like Haunted Honeymoon?
If you
Of
could
all
have
the
seen
Gene Wilder
Eric's
movies
face,
that you
was
could,
hilarious.
of all the Gene Wilder movies you could go to, you go to Haunted
Well,
Honeymoon.
we're not talking about Gene Wilder. We're talking about Gilda Radner.
Well, yes, but she's in a movie that's not very good with Gene Wilder.
Oh, you don't like Haunted Honeymoon?
No.
Oh,
it's not,
dude.
it's got a bit
It's so
here, a bit
charming. I mean, movie-wise, Gilda Radner. I mean, Lily Tomlin. I could go on for
Well,
ages.
Lily Tomlin, yeah. I mean, All of Me is a classic. I'm not a big fan of
9 to
Grandma.
5.
9 to 5 is, not. It doesn't exactly hold up, but it's very enjoyable. Grandma, I'm not a big fan of, but Lily Tomlin is a national treasure. Let's not mince words here. Gilda Radner, yes, she's awesome. Movie career,
Not so
how many non-Gene Wilder movies?
She also left us too soon.
I'm not even suggesting that
Her career was cut
could have
short.
been. Her career was cut short, But we are dealing with, I mean, you're already ready to cut off Amy Schumer at the knees.
True.
After one movie. So if we're going to do that, then she made 3 movies with Gene Wilder.
All right.
What are the other 2?
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, though, who I mentioned.
Yes.
Way better than Amy Schumer.
Well, they've had a few more opportunities. Sisters wasn't particularly great.
I liked it.
Baby Mama is a little bit better, and Mean Girls, obviously Tina Fey wrote and whatnot is quite good. And Amy Poehler, I'm a fan of all these ladies.
I'm still trying to figure out how Matt hijacked my 20 seconds of John time to rant and rave. I was supposed to get the rant and rave.
I'll take the blame for that because I was trying to give him a chance to defend his point and maybe sway the judge and jury a little bit.
Yeah.
He didn't. It didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
But so I'm still siding with
I won
Ryan
this one, Matt. I won this one. I needed a win, so thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
I really threw that just so you could win.
Yeah, right. I will say very quickly, and this is sort of a shocker. I recently purchased Rogue One on Blu-ray. Huge fan. Saw it twice in the theater. Loved it. Not as rewatchable as I thought it was going to be, mainly because it is just so slow in the beginning. As great as that ending of Rogue One is, it's a bore to get to it after you've seen the movie a couple times.
Slow in the middle. I mean, if you want to compare to the Galaxy,
not compared to all Star Wars films. They usually have such a beat and a rhythm to them. Boy, does Rogue One take a long time to get going. For rewatchability, not my favorite Star Wars movie. That's all we got.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Still my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, who cares about you ass bag? All right.
I'm also siding with Rye against that.
Really?
That's your favorite Star Wars movie, Rogue One? Of all, I mean, all of them.
He just talks.
Even forget the prequels for a minute.
He
Just
doesn't
forget
know.
the prequels. You think
He
Rogue
loves
One's better than Empire
Empire.
Strikes Back?
Yeah, he loves
the original
Empire.
Star Wars. Force
It's up
Awakens?
there. No, it's not better than Empire, but
Okay.
it's up there.
Okay. I'm just giving you a chance to, before people write
It might
in.
be.
And,
I might like it better than Empire, though.
Wow. Big.
It was huge.
I can't
loved
go
it.
that.
Yeah, I'm not with
I
you on
can't
that.
go that. No,
I'm
can't
not
go
with
that
you.
high.
All right,
Especially
I
like
need
I
to
said,
see
I
it
like it.
again.
Watch
I like
it again, and I'm telling you, it drags a little bit. All right, here we go. We are playing King movie trivia in honor of King Arthur. Think of movies with King in the title. Eric,
Okay.
you're our guest. You get to choose to go first or let Matt go first. Now, there are steals if the person doesn't know it, and if you get hung up on a question, you get one fill me in. Phil.
I think I will go first.
Question 1 over to Eric. And they are easy to start, so don't think it's going to just be a breeze like this all the time. We always want to make the guests comfortable. You never know who you're going to have on. Question 1 over to Eric. In 2010, Colin Firth won an Oscar for his performance in this Best Picture winner.
The King's Speech.
Question number 2 over to Matt Kay. In 2002's The Scorpion King, it launched the movie career of this action star.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
1-1. All right, we'll step it up slowly here. Question 3 over to Eric. Name the 1991 movie that starred Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams and was directed by Terry Gilliam.
The Fisher King.
When was the last time you saw The Fisher King?
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
It's a great movie.
it's on my to-do list. Swings it over to Matt for number 4. Question to you, Matt. 3 Kings, starring George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and the great Ice Cube, was written and directed by this man who would later give us American Hustle. Name him.
Man, couldn't you have just said who the third actor was? Because I knew all 3 of them. Who directed that?
Would you have said the great Ice Cube, though?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like Ice Cube.
3 Kings. Who directed it, Matt? He also directed American Hustle.
Henry Winkler. It's the Fonz, no?
I'm sorry. You were thinking of
Incorrect.
the one and only. The one and only. I'm sorry.
We throw it over to Eric. Chance
Can I
for a
steal
steal
that? I
and
can
to
steal
blow
that.
it
That's
wide
yours.
David O. Russell.
I always bomb on the
butcher
directors.
You really do. It is 3-1, and you see the swing this takes here because question 5 is right back to Eric. Eric, in 2006 is The Last King of Scotland. It starred Forrest Whitaker and this actor who played his personal physician.
James McAvoy.
4-1. I mean, Matt, you got to run the table at this point somehow. It is 4-1. Eric, question 6 now. Matt K. Matt. In 1999, Jodie Foster and Chow Yun-fat starred in this epic tale. Name the movie. 1999. Jodie Foster. Chow Yun-fat. Epic tale.
Epic. Man, I don't know why I want to say The King and I, but I know that's incredibly wrong. Oh, wait, but it has the king in it. It's just
Wow, he's really thinking. You can almost hear the wheels in his head. I mean, as rusty as they are.
Do you have like a reverse sand clock, like in
Is
Flash
it just,
Gordon or something?
I'll just say, what the hell was the name of that movie?
You do have a fill me in Phil.
I
if
know,
you
but I
need
know
it,
I'm like right there. It's just
I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give you an A for effort.
I know that was a subtle hint. Man, I don't want to use my lifeline here. A for effort, so I'm just gonna say a king. I don't know. How close was I?
So close, so close. Eric, what was the name of that Jodie Foster film?
Anna and the King.
Tried to give the A, maybe it would spike something there, but
No.
no.
What was the clue? I'm curious now.
What
Would
was
that
the
have-
clue,
would that
Phil?
have-
It would have been a famous Paquin starts the title.
That would have given it to me.
Oh,
Anna,
Yeah.
but it's actually Anna.
Actually-
Yeah, but it would have gave it to you at least.
and
Yeah.
you were on the right track. You was the King and I.
Yep,
I mean, that's the movie.
That is the movie,
Yeah.
just different title.
Mhm.
Yep. It is now 5-1. It's laughable at this point, Matt. Sorry. And question 7 is over to Eric. Eric, name the 1997 film that stars Christopher Walken as a kidnapped mafia figure. Dennis Leary is also in this film.
Suicide Kings.
Wow.
Oh boy, 6-1, Matt.
Jesus.
Yeah. Question 8. You can save some face here. Last question of the game, Matt. Matt, name the 2013 indie film that saw 3 teenage friends spend their summer building a house in the woods and living off the land. And your clue is we have Eric here to promote the Chicago Critics Film Festival.
I'm gonna say that's almost unfair.
See how I tie it all in?
Yeah, I like that.
I put a
I
lot
like
of work
that.
into this show,
I like
you know?
that. Yeah.
Fill me in, Phil.
Fill me in, Phil. Question number 8. What do you got, Phil?
Yes, your clue is Majesties of a Season.
Majesties of a Season. We're playing King movie trivia. What do you got, Matt?
Kings of Summer.
Eric did the screen at the Chicago.
Played at our very first Chicago Critics Film Festival.
And thank you, Phil.
See how it all ties together?
It
On
did.
question
Wow.
number
Wow.
8.
Ryan,
Ah.
that's some good writing, buddy.
The movie was originally titled Toys Box.
Wouldn't
I
have worked.
believe.
Wouldn't have worked in King movie trivia. But
No.
Eric was saying he doesn't like to pat his own back. I like to pat my own back. It was a great trivia question. If it came down to a tie, we call it a jawbreaker here. This question would have been over to Eric. Better animated movie king, Mustafa or Anthony Hopkins in Beowulf?
I'm gonna go with Mustafa. That's wrong.
Incorrect.
I'm
yeah.
sorry, that's
Yeah,
wrong.
it was
Why
Anthony
is that
Hopkins.
wrong?
Just because it's Anthony Hopkins. I mean, you just can't
Over
argue
James
with
Earl Jones. Over James Earl Jones. I'm gonna throw this to the clue. Can we get a clue that he give him a clue, please?
Yeah, your clue is Ryan, you're an idiot.
Yeah, thank you.
Or
Thank you very much.
you're a jag bag. I'll put it in
I
words.
wasn't gonna go that far.
I'll put it in words you can understand.
Normally,
Oh,
Anthony
wow.
Hopkins is a certain kind of
Fantastic.
royalty, but
Phil.
James Earl Jones, man.
There you go. I was kidding. Anyways, that's always for
All
fun.
right.
The real jawbreaker was this. Age of Dennis Leary closest to. Matt, you got a guess?
Dennis Leary.
Today,
Yes.
the age he's closest
Yes.
Okay. Wow. What? How is that relevant to what we're talking about?
He was in Suicide,
Suicide
Kings.
Kings.
Oh, I see.
So.
Okay.
to. He was also in the Thomas Crown affair.
And
Wow, we're getting deep here.
He was also in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Just acid.
Happy memories. We're supposed to be having
man.
happy
Hey.
memories here, and that's just not good.
Hey, I thought
Nobody likes
he
that
was.
movie.
He
He was
was.
going for the crown, you see, with the king.
He's Gwen
Matt,
Stacy's
Jesus.
father.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a
All right.
pivotal Spider-Man.
You're
right.
reminding us
Matt.
of those movies.
Age of Dennis Leary. What do you got?
Okay, so I think Dennis Leary is not too young anymore, but he's not too old either. I'm going to put him at 56.
Phil, lock him in at 56. Eric, you got a guess?
Yeah, and I'm gonna. This is. I'm not trying to be prices right here, but I was gonna say 57.
Give that to Eric. 59.
Ooh.
59
Wow.
for Dennis Leary. Yeah. Eric wins this one. Can we get a handshake here?
Yes.
Of course.
Clobbered you,
Absolutely.
Matt K.
Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, this is kind of a foregone conclusion
I
there.
knew it. Yeah. Boy, this is a blast, isn't it?
Yes.
Brings us to the end of a great jaw. And first and foremost, we got to thank our guest, Erik Childress. Thanks for coming on Cinemajaw.
Thank you very much for having me. It was truly an honor.
We also got to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, thanks to all the sponsors and the Chicago Podcast Co-op who help us get those sponsors.
We also got to thank the best editor in the biz, Phil, for filling in for Elias, who is out on the road. Thank you, Phil.
Hey, not a problem, guys. I will do it any week Elias is out.
Until next week.
Phil's probably going to clobber
yeah.
Elias and
Yeah,
take his job.
you're not kidding. I did want to mention Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Follow us on Facebook.
You should do that.
Like us on Facebook.
Please.
And follow us on Twitter, I guess it is. We used to plug all those things.
Hey, we should.
Yeah, every once in a while you got to remind people that we're out there in social media.
Yeah.
You know? You don't even talk about your Instagram anymore.
Well, hey, guys, we're at Cinemajaw on Instagram as well. You like pictures. It's just like the movies, only slower.
Yes, and a reminder before we blow out of here, our May movie pick of the month is Fish Tank. Please watch it and let us know. Play the riddle one more time.
I have been in a Marvel movie. I have played a vampire. In one calendar year, I appeared in 2 films that starred Brad Pitt. The year prior to that, I won an Oscar in a film that starred George Clooney. And one time, John C. Reilly played my husband. Who am I? Jawheads, if you think you know the answer, write us at feedback@cinemajaw.com with the answer, and one of you will win.
Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt K, and keep on jawing about the movies.